springtime and in the month of May.
She wore it in the springtime and in the month of May.
And if you ask her why the heck she wore it,
and if you ask her why the heck she wore
it for her soldier who was far, far away.
She wore it for her soldier who was far, far away.
Far away!
Far away!
Far away!
Far away! She wore it for her soldier who was far, far away.
Around the block, she pushed the baby carriage.
Around the block, she pushed the baby carriage.
She pushed it in the springtime and in the month of May.
She pushed it in the springtime and in the month of May.
And if you asked her why the hell she pushed it,
and if you asked her why the hell she pushed it,
she pushed it for her ranger who was far, far away.
She pushed it for her ranger who was far, far away.
Far away!
Far away!
Far away!
Far away!
She pushed it for her ranger who was far, far away.
Welcome to our distinguished guests, general officers, senior enlisted, leaders, command teams, family members in the audience, leaders, command teams, family members in the audience that are with us today. Please also extend a very special welcome to Colonel Knapp's family, his wife Heather, son and daughter-in-law Scott Knapp and Ashley Reagan, their two children, Maddox and Stella, as well as his brother and his wife, Michael and Trish Knapp, and their son, Josh. The official party this morning will consist of Brigadier General J.M. Cogan, Commander, California State Military Reserve, Brigadier General David Smith, Deputy Commander, California State Military Reserve, and Colonel Promotable Denton Knapp, Army Component Command, California State Military Reserve. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and please remain standing for the playing of the national anthem and the invocation by Chaplain
It is my privilege to open this ceremony with prayer. I invite each of you to bow and pray according to the direction of your own faith tradition, as I will in mine, or simply to keep a moment of respectful silence. Almighty God, you spoke this world into existence from nothing. We bow before you today in acknowledgement of your greatness. Father, when you placed men on this earth, you established governments. You further established that these governments would rise forces for the protection of people who do good from those who do evil. In the California State Military Reserve, we take seriously this responsibility and sacred trust. In the active military forces, the State Reserve and the National Guard, you have blessed us with leaders of strong character and stalwart faith who look to you for guidance and provide examples for others to follow. We thank you for your grace, wisdom, and guidance, and the devotion to duty of Colonel Knapp during his 30-year service in the Army, as well as your grace and wisdom and devotion of those relinquishing command and those assuming command today for their exemplary service and leadership. We rejoice that you have guided the State Military Reserve to promote Colonel Knapp to General, to join with General Cogan and General Smith in leading our forces. We ask that you provide the commanders of the State Military Reserve, the Army Component Command, the Air Component Command, the Maritime Support Command, the Military Heritage Command, the 40th Support Command, and the 79th Support Brigade with your continued presence and a continuation of the wisdom that they have shown in their previous service. Keep General Kogan, General Smith, Commander Harrison, Colonel Strom, Colonel Nakishi, Colonel Hardman, and all the members of the commands under your protection. Strengthen these leaders and us for the challenges ahead. Continue to sustain our leaders' spirit, deepen their wisdom, encourage them, and widen the influence that we may continue to serve California, the United States of America, and you. Lord, we thank you for being with the wives and families of these new commanders during times of duty separation during their previous service, as well as the wives and families of those relinquishing command today. Their sacrifice would have been so much more difficult without your presence. Be with all who serve in our state military reserve here in California, and be especially with the active military and National Guard airmen, soldiers, and sailors that are deployed. Keep them safe, and may they perform their duties diligently and with perseverance, that our mission and your will be done. Lord, also we ask that you will protect and watch over their families, and that the time will pass swiftly when you shall return them safely to us. This we ask in your precious name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats, and we would ask that the audience remain seated during the reading of the orders and the promotion ceremony.
Sir, question to post colors.
Permission to post the colors. Post the colors.
Color reverse. Off. Forward. Off. Detail. Off. Forward. Off. Breezes. On. Order. On. Hey. Forward. On. Ready? Place. Forward. March.
This time it's my pleasure to introduce Brigadier General Jay Kogan, Commander, California State Military Reserve, to make his opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. This is a very significant day in the life of the California State Military Reserve because it is our future. When General Baldwin, the Adjutant General of California, issued his directive to align the State Military Reserve with the National Guard so that we act as one voice, one body, the decision was at that point to stand up an Army component within the State Military Reserve and an air component within the State Military Reserve so that those respective generals could align themselves with the commander of Army Guard and the commander of Air Guard. Well, I already had an air general who was more than qualified to take command of the air component. I did not have an Army component general because there wasn't another general in the SMR. When Colonel Knapp is promoted today, this will be the most generals that I'm aware of in the history of the SMR at one period in time. So I had to look for somebody. I had to find someone that I thought could take us to the next step. They say that promotion is not necessarily a reward for your past service, but a recognition of your ability to serve at the next level. Clearly, the next level here is something we've never seen before. We are recreating the State Military Reserve from whole cloth now at a time of crisis in the state of California and for our nation that needs great leaders. So as I received resumes from various individuals, 06s, to look at regarding promotion to 07 to take command of the Army component, of course, I saw Colonel Knapp's. What a resume. Amazing. But a resume is not enough. In fact, I called General Baldwin, all of our boss, and I said to him, have you ever heard of Denton Knapp? He says, I've never met him, but I've heard of him, and boy, would he make a great leader. And then I met Denton Knapp, and I spent time with Denton Knapp. And I realized I have found my person. The person that could take the Army component of the State Military Reserve into the future from whole cloth. Because he will have to invent this as we go along. That is why we're also doing an assumption of command today, because it's a command that didn't exist this morning. Its birth will be today while we're all here together. So I welcome you all here today for this great ceremony, to be here at the nascent beginning of the next generation of the SMR. When I took command, I made a comment. It's not my goal to make us better, it's to transform us. We are now transforming. For you who do not know much about us, we are now standing up a quick response force to act as police force and augmentees during disasters. A search and rescue team, both land and maritime. We are acting as opposing forces to train regular Army and reserve components so they have live, real people that understand what it means to be in the field, to train them to go to war. Every day our missions increase. Every day the demands upon us increase. And they say, California, this is now our new normal. It is one disaster after another. That is our purpose, to respond to the needs of this great state we serve. And we will need great leaders. And Denton Knapp is certainly what I believe will be a great leader for the SMR. Thank you.
At this time, we would like to invite Colonel Knapp's wife, Heather Knapp, to join us.
Publish the orders.
Attention to orders. The Governor of California, acting upon the recommendation of the Adjutant General, has placed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, integrity, and abilities of Colonel Denton Knapp. In view of these special qualities and his demonstrated potential to serve at the higher grade, Colonel Denton Knapp is promoted to the grade of Brigadier General, California State Military Reserve, effective 1 November 2018. Signed, David S. Baldwin, Major General, the Adjutant General. It is my pleasure to introduce our newest general, Brigadier General Denton Knapp, who will now speak to us.
Well, first of all, thank you for everyone coming. Some came from pretty far distances, driving up from all over the state, either north or south, and a lot of good friends here. So thanks for coming out on this beautiful day here in Orange County. Heather, you thought we were done, right? So Heather and I met as soon as I graduated from West Point at the age of 22, and picked her up in my home state of Wyoming, and we started west to the first duty station in Fort Lewis, Washington, as brand new lieutenant. And she's been with me ever since. And I trained her right. I married her during Ranger School. So Heather, we're not done yet. And I say that for several reasons. First of all, Sir General Kogan, thank you, sir, for having confidence and faith in me, along with General Baldwin. A new implant to Orange County, a new implant to California, and having the faith and confidence that I could come in and help lead these wonderful men and women here to your front as part of the new Army Component Command. So what is this? If you take a look at your programs, it basically tells our story. What's our mission? What's the creed that each of us believes as servants? So what you see before here are truly servants. I like to say volunteers, but ever since post-Vietnam, we've been an all-volunteer force. So everybody raises their right hand, takes the oath, and knows what they're going into. no draft. These folks have gone a step further. So within your ranks here, you've got a large variety of folks. Some have served 30 years like myself, some longer. We have Vietnam veterans. Some have never served in the armed forces. So people like Private Penny Lambright, who decided to join and become a private working in the legal department. Sergeant Bobby Kraut, who served before in the United States Army and decided he wanted to come back and serve the state of California. So what is it we do? I'd like to share the oath I just took when I first came in, and this is the commissioned officer oath for the CSMR, California State Military Reserve. Having been appointed as an officer in the California State Military Reserve, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. So the Constitution of the United States, okay, is something I've always carried around. That's what we do. We defend our way of life. We go a step further in this oath and say, and the Constitution of the state of California. We are the state's guard. We are the governor's tool to do whatever needs to be done within the state to assist them and our National Guard. Whether it's fires, natural disasters, earthquakes, border patrol, things that are going on now, whatever we're called to do, we have to be ready to do it. And that takes training, and it takes dedicated leaders that are trained. That will bear true faith and allegiance not only to the United States Constitution, but also to the state of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So this is the same oath everybody out there in the active force takes, plus the state of California. They'll bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the state of California. But I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I'm about to enter. So what you see before you are truly volunteers, not paid, giving their weekends to come out and train to be ready for this state. I had the great opportunity to serve in California before, one time at Fort Irwin, California, in the beautiful Mojave Desert for a couple years, and that was our first chance in California, and also to serve with the California National Guard with 1st Battalion, 184th Infantry, Air Assault, in Iraq. And I'd like to just welcome back Nick Dusich from your mission to the Balkans, who was in the battalion with me back then. So I have a history here in California, but more than that, we moved out here to be next to a couple people that are sitting in the audience there. My son Scott and his wife Ashley, their children Maddox, who's 7, and Stella, who's 4, and then also my brother Mike and his wife Trish and Josh here. So finally, after 30 years of roaming around the Army, we have family. Not only family there, but also family now within the California State Military Reserve. So a privilege to serve. When does that end? Well, I don't think it ever does. Now, I was happy to, after retirement, to come back and work at Goodwill of Orange County with the Attorney Center for Veteran Services and serve veterans, helping them get jobs. Plus, to come back here to the CSMR and do this with you all. So I just want to say thank you. It's a privilege to have you all here, and I look forward to seeing what we're going to do in the future. Heather, thank you so much for sticking with me for 31 years and that whole way sharing this Army with me. You've been there taking care of spouses who lost their husbands in combat, taking care of the home front with the kids while I was gone, and this service continues as we move on to this next chapter, so I appreciate it. Thank you all for coming, and I'll just point out there is a reception after the ceremony's all over at Building 3, right behind this big one to your right, and I welcome all of you to come and visit with us and have something to eat and drink. Thank you.
Historically, the flag or colors of a unit served as the point around which the soldiers of the organization rallied as they moved forward in battle. The colors have traditionally been at the side of the commander and were carried forward even when the commander fell in combat. All others may perish, but the colors live on. The colors are an extension of the unit. With the transfer of the colors here today goes the transfer of responsibility for the accomplishment of the California State Military Reserve's mission and the welfare of the troops. The senior NCO of the organization is traditionally responsible for the maintenance and care of the colors. Command Sergeant Major Langenberg will now pass the colors to the CSMR Commander, Brigadier General Jake Hogan. General Kogan will pass the colors to the incoming commander, Brigadier General Knapp. Entrusting him with the responsibility and care of the command, General Knapp passes the colors back to the Command Sergeant Major, Sergeant Major Langenberg, signifying his trust and confidence in the leaders and service of the members of the organization. In accordance with Section CMVC, Section 142, Paragraph A, the undersigned, Brigadier General Denton Knapp, assumes command of the California State Military Reserve Army Component, effective 8 December 2018, signed Denton Knapp, Brigadier General Commanding. Mrs. Knapp is being presented a bouquet of yellow roses from the service members of the California State Military Reserve Army Component. At this time, we will have the assumption of command of the Air Component. The senior NCO of an organization is traditionally responsible for the care and maintenance of the colors. Command Chief Master Sergeant Allward will pass the guidon to the CSMR Commander, Brigadier General Kogan. General Kogan then passes the guidon to the incoming commander, Brigadier General Smith, entrusting him with the responsibility and care of the command. General Smith then passes the guidon to Command Chief Master Sergeant Allward, signifying his trust and confidence in the leaders and service members of the organization. Mrs. Smith is being presented a bouquet of yellow roses from the service members of California State Military Reserve Air Component. That concludes the assumption of command ceremonies. We will now proceed with the 4 changes of command. Captain Hansen will now relinquish command of the CSMR Maritime to Commander Harrison. We will now witness the passing of the Maritime Component colors, again signifying the responsibility associated with command to a new commander. Senior Chief NCO Force Master Chief Keene, representing the backbone of the command, hands the colors to the outgoing commander, Captain Hansen. Captain Hansen, the outgoing commander, then passes the guidon to the commander CSMR, Brigadier General Kogan. General Kogan, signifying the return of responsibility of which he has entrusted upon the assuming command, passes the colors to the incoming commander, Commander Harrison, thus demonstrating his confidence in the command's ability to handle the responsibility of command and move the mission forward. Commander Harrison returns the colors to Force Master Chief Keene, who entrusts the colors to the color bearer.
I relieve you, sir. I stand relieved.
At this time, Commander Harrison's wife, Miss Diovera, is being presented a bouquet of yellow roses. Major Pasantes, acting for Colonel Rutledge, will now relinquish command of the CSMR Military Heritage Command to Colonel Sturm. The senior NCO of the organization is traditionally responsible for care and maintenance of the colors. Command Sergeant Major Ortega will pass the colors to Colonel Rutledge, the outgoing commander. Major Pasantes will then pass the colors to the CSMR Commander, Brigadier General Kogan, who in turn will pass the colors to the incoming commander, Colonel Sturm, entrusting him with the responsibility and care of the command. Colonel Sturm then passes the colors to the Command Sergeant Major, Sergeant Major Ortega, signifying his trust and confidence in the leaders and the service members of the organization. At this time, Sergeant Major Ortega will return the colors to the color bearer. At this time, Mrs. Sturm is being presented a bouquet of yellow roses from the service members of the California State Military Reserve Military Heritage Command. Colonel Nakaishi will now relinquish command of the CSMR 79th Support Brigade to Colonel Hardman. The senior NCO of the organization is traditionally responsible for the care and maintenance of the colors. Command Sergeant Major Meredith will pass the colors to Colonel Nakaishi, the outgoing commander. Colonel Nakaishi will pass the colors to Brigadier General Knapp, who will then pass the colors to the incoming commander, Colonel Hardman, entrusting him with the responsibility and care of the command. Colonel Hardman then passes the colors to the Command Sergeant Major Meredith, signifying his trust and confidence in the leaders and service members of the organization. Command Sergeant Major Meredith will then pass the colors to the color bearer. At this time, Mrs. Hardman is being presented a bouquet of yellow roses from the service members of the California State Military Reserve 79th Support Brigade. Colonel Von Sowers will now relinquish command of the CSMR 40th Support Command to Colonel Nakaishi. The senior NCO of the organization is traditionally responsible for the care and maintenance of the colors. Command Sergeant Major Moriarty will pass the colors to Colonel Von Sowers, the outgoing commander. Colonel Von Sowers will pass the colors to Brigadier General Knapp, who will in turn pass the colors to the incoming commander, Colonel Nakaishi, entrusting him with the responsibility and care of the command. Colonel Nakaishi then passes the colors to Command Sergeant Major Moriarty, signifying his trust and confidence in the leaders and service members of the organization. Sergeant Major Moriarty will return the colors to the color bearer. At this time, Mrs. Nakaishi is being presented a bouquet of yellow roses from the service members of the California State Military Reserve 40th Support Command. Please stand for the parting of the official party. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremonies. Please do join us in Building 3 for reception. Unit commanders, take charge and dismiss your troops.
He kept it in the springtime and in the month of May.
He kept it in the springtime and in the month of May.
And if you asked him why the hell he kept it,
And if you asked him why the hell
he kept it for his ranger who was far, far away.
he kept it for his ranger who was far, far away.
Far away,
Far away,
far away.
far away. He kept it for his ranger who was